Well, hey there and welcome to the In the Arena segment of Total Maine. Appreciate the three of you being here. We've got some company here today as well. We've got a bobblehead on the desk.
Yeah, Margaret Chase Smith making an appearance because God knows we could use some of her wisdom right now.
Yeah, all right. It's a good place to be right there. Returning to our beginning topic on the program today, the president of the Maine Hospital Association says that Maine healthcare facilities are really facing a financial crisis right now. He's urging policymakers to take some of the challenges that they're facing very seriously and try to work towards solutions. Northern Light Inlet Hospital in Waterville announcing their permanent closure recently. Democrats say that Medicaid cuts in the president's tax and spending bill could make rural hospitals even more vulnerable to potentially closing. Republicans argue, though, that Maine care just isn't sustainable. There's no shortage of finger pointing here. So I want to ask the two of you, what do Augusta lawmakers need to do to try to prevent more treatment centers from closing? Phil, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is truly a financial crisis. There is the timeliness of payments, the reimbursement rates, the rural nature of our healthcare system, the lack of population to sustain those hospitals, all of that is under tremendous pressure, and the federal government is now making a point of saying the Medicaid system in America is unsustainable, and we're going to address it by making sure that able-bodied people who don't have dependents will need to go to work. Or if you're here illegally, you're not eligible for Medicaid. And those are the tough decisions that have to be made, because if we stay on the course we're on, the healthcare system in rural Maine, I predict, is going to collapse. You
mentioned timely reimbursements. That was something that Augusta Republicans tried to get through the state legislature, but weren't able to do so. Do you think that's something they could get through next time around?
They need to, because what they call cash flow, the velocity of which they get reimbursed for the services they provide, needs to be used to cover payroll and facility, heating and cooling and so on and so forth. The delays of these payments are leaving these hospitals with a cash flow crisis.
Ethan, how do you think we can work towards resolving this problem?
Just to be clear about one thing real quick, Republicans didn't vote for the bill that got the hospitals paid more quickly, right? They refused because they wanted additional things put in the bill. There was a clean bill. Let's just pay the hospitals. Now, of course, the legislature's trying to deal with how do we deal with the gap now for next year. But I mean, look, I think there are two issues here going on. I think Phil is spot on. Rural areas, less people there, less population, that makes it harder. That's why we need more public infrastructure around healthcare in the state. We do need more of the state stepping up and creating clinics, making sure that we can get people, because there isn't a sustainable private for-profit model that's going to work in those communities. The other thing is we do have to make sure they get the reimbursements. The federal cuts are going to be devastating to these hospitals. Not providing health insurance to more people doesn't make it better for hospitals, right? Hospitals already provide a lot of free care. So if the federal government is kicking people off, saying you've got to go to work, and that person still isn't able to find a job, and then they go to the hospital, they're going to have to take care of that person and get no money for it. So if the federal government cuts those resources, it doesn't help that hospital. But you know what? There are some things that we could do with that reimbursement money, like trying to get hospitals to maybe pay their executives a little more responsibly. Some of these executives are making a lot of money while these hospitals are closing down and nurses are losing jobs.
All right, let's move on to our next topic here. The first poll of the 2026 race for Maine governor is now out. This was put out by Pan Atlantic Research. Among likely Democratic gubernatorial primary voters, the survey showed 33% of respondents said that they would likely support businessman Angus King III. 24% said that they would likely support Maine Secretary of State Shetta Bellows. 20% indicating that they would likely support former Maine House Speaker Hannah Pingree. And 13% said that they would support Troy Jackson. Pat, does this tell anything, what we're seeing here in the results, tell you anything about the value of name recognition?
Well, it tells us it's everything at this point, because the race has barely begun. This is a much earlier start than we usually get. And of course, the same poll had asked, what do you think about Senator Angus King? And you see another Angus King's name. Sure, I like him. And it's an unusual poll. It doesn't say, if the voting were held today, would you vote for this person? What they're saying is, would you likely support, would you likely not support? You could pick more than one, presumably. You could pick all four if you're a Democrat and say, yeah, if any one of those are the nominee, I'm for them. So it doesn't really give us anything worthwhile. It's fun to talk about. And of course, on the Republican side, as you'll see, it's just the three leaders are people who aren't even in the race because they have name recognition.
Ethan, what stands out to you here?
What stands out to me, I think what Pat just said is spot on in terms of name recognition. What stands out for me, though, because I don't think that Angus King Jr. is close to being in the lead in this race. Nobody knows who he is, and I think once they figure that out, that will change. But it was interesting to me to see Shenna, Hannah, Troy. I think that probably is the order of things at the moment in terms of the Democratic primary, both name ID and in terms of how they've established themselves. So that, to me, is the most telling piece on the Democratic side.
All right, let's take a look on the Republican side. Top 3 names of potential candidates that respondents indicated they would support. Laura Libby of Auburn, 27%. Bruce Poliquin, 23%. Sean Moody, 21%. Bobby Charles, not pictured here, who has joined us on the program to discuss his candidacy in the spring. He got 14%. Pat, Laura Libby, of course, has been in the news cycle a lot this year. What stands out to you from these results?
Well, she stands out, first of all, because we're talking about her a lot on the national level. That means she can raise money. People are aware of her. She's also a fresh face among that crowd. You have 2 previous statewide candidates in Bruce Poliquin and Sean Moody. Bobby Charles, of course, an unknown quantity at this moment, but he has had a somewhat high, he's actually doing some campaigning. So it really is just telling us we've heard of these people. If you're Laura Libby, you're probably saying, okay, I like the sound of that, however deep it actually goes.
Did you think that Laura Libby was going to poll higher?
No, that didn't surprise me at all. Bobby Charles coming in at 13% did surprise me. He is relatively new to the political...
Same as Troy Jackson.
Right. And Troy Jackson's a known entity as president of the Senate. Bobby Charles, relatively new. That surprised me. But what's also telling is that I don't think Republicans know much about what Laura Libby would advocate for if she were to become governor. You know, Bruce Poliquin and Sean Moody have a very clear vision of how state government should run were they elected. The further you are away from voting...
It's hearing the name a lot. Yeah. I think that's got to be a big part of it.
But doesn't that, I mean, don't you think this is pretty encouraging for Laura Libby? She's like least known of anybody, and she's leading some established Republicans.
It's got some traction on an issue which a lot of people from all ends of the political spectrum are invested in.
And remember, none of those top 3 are actually running yet.
Right. It'll be interesting to see the next round of that poll when things change, how things continue to shake out. So thank you so much to the 3 of you for being here on this Sunday. Remember, new episodes of In the Arena drop every Thursday. You can watch on our website, WMTW.com, watch on YouTube, or listen wherever you get your podcasts.